Okay guys, today I'm going to be transplanting some kale out into the garden outdoors. It's April 9th, I think, or 8th. Kale can go out a little earlier than right now, but I just wanted them to get to a nice size before transplanting. You can even plant them direct seeded outside earlier in the year, in like March. They take a little bit longer to germinate, but that's okay. So I'm going to show you how I transplant. You can see here, so I'm going to grab one of these scarlet kale. Now what I'm doing on the bottom is I'm pinching the bottom of the cell so that I can just pull it out nice and easily. You can see there's multiple seeded here, so I can just pull it out from the stem, and it is nicely rooted. You can see there's lots of roots. Now there's two here, and in my experience you don't want to plant two kale plants this close together when you put them in the ground. So what I'll do is I'll find the one that has the shorter stem to where the leaves come out, which these two are about the same, which means they germinated about the same time, and I'll pinch it off, usually I'll make sure there's no dirt on it and just bite it off, and you can eat it like a microgreen. So I've got one plant here, and you can see I've transplanted a couple already. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you on a couple plants. I'm going to dig a hole, small hole with my fingers, for each of the plants. Now I'm spacing these, I'm estimating that it's about 10 inches apart. I like to plant things pretty densely because I have a nice deep compost here. It's probably 3 or 4 inches deep at least, if not more. So next thing I'm gonna do is put a glove on, because I'm going to put some pelletized chicken manure in each hole, and this will break down throughout the season and feed the plants. It's composted chicken manure, so it's not too hot for the garden. Put a little bit in each hole, or around the hole. I like to put it in the plant hole because the ground helps it to break down. It kind of just turns into soil. So I'll put it in, and with one hand, I usually do this with two hands, I will close up the hole. You don't want to bury the stem too much like you do with you might want to do with a tomato plant or a cucumber or something. I know tomato plants are kind of known for, if you have a long stem, you plant them deep and they'll grow more roots. And that extra stem will just die off at some point. So I'm going to do that with all of these. Same thing here. I'm going to make sure you pat down the soil around it. I'm going to water these in very lightly today, but it's supposed to rain tonight, and the soil's already pretty wet from last night's storm, so I'm not too worried about them getting a lot of water from me, because God's going to water them. And I tend not to water too much unless we get a real drought, because we get a decent amount of rain here in Pittsburgh. So the last one, this is the one I showed you that I snipped, that I picked out, and it's really fun and I guess tasty to plant different kinds of kale. In this row, I have lacinato, which is dinosaur kale. I have a variety called Premier kale. I have scarlet kale, which is this very pink. Or very purple. It'll be purple whenever it gets large. Mostly purple with a little bit of green on it. I also have dazzling blue kale in here. Kind of looks like this one. Kind of looks like the dinosaur kale. And I grew some red Russian kale as well, which I haven't transplanted yet. So you can see I have a bunch of kale plants. The seeds are really cheap. You get way too many. But you can see here, again, I have lots more transplants to put in or give to people or sell or put in gardens that I'm building. So I hope you have a great spring transplanting all of your greens.